learned that astronomers have found a big empty place in the universe. It's a massive void, a gigantic hole, and it's nearly 1 billion light years across. Inside it are no planets, no galaxies, no stars, no gases. It's just a huge, cold spot. It's a whole lot of nothing. And it can boggle the mind to think of the incredible distances between stars. You know, a light year is a unit of distance that light can travel in 1 year. 1 light year equals 6 trillion miles. It's quite a distance. And this empty space is 1 billion light years across. Between 6 and 10 billion light years from Earth. I don't know about you, but my tiny head can't even begin to comprehend a hole that gigantic. 1 billion light years across. A massive void, no planets, no stars, no galaxies, no gases. There's absolutely nothing there. An empty place. An empty space. An empty tomb. The tomb's empty. This void is a massive, world-changing reality, that void of the empty tomb. The Apostle Paul was no astronomer, but he knew the story of an empty place that had cosmic consequences. He had heard that on Easter morning, Mary Magdalene and 2 other women had encountered a massive void when they showed up at the empty tomb. An empty space that was for them as mind-boggling as any on the edge of the universe. Can you imagine how empty Mary's feeling? She's already suffered the crucifixion of her friend and teacher Jesus. She's mourning his death deeply. And now she goes to the tomb to pay her respects. And what does she find? Absolutely nothing. You're right, nothing. She finds nothing. Huge cold spot. She didn't know that you have to pass through some empty tombs on the way to resurrection life. We know how that feels like, don't we? Each of us at some time in life comes face to face with a massive void, a big empty place. It happens. It really does, folks. When you give your heart to someone who doesn't accept the gift. When you learn a sport and you practice hard and you still don't make the team. When you study and pursue a profession only to find out that you hate your work. When you create something beautiful and learn that no one is interested. When you try to resist temptation but then give in to it again and again. When you jump into a new job only to lose it in the closing. When you put your money into your home only to see your equity disappear. When you retire and wake up with nothing to do. When you lose a spouse and find yourself all alone. These folks are huge cold spots. They're massive voids in our lives. Mary and her companions are seized by terror and amazement. Their world feels like it's 1 billion light years of empty space. I can remember about 6 or 7 years ago, that's how Dawn and I felt when we found out our son had been diagnosed with cancer. It just seemed like our world collapsed in on us. And everything just became a big void. Nothing mattered. Nothing mattered except our son Ben. But Mary and her companion, it's to their credit that they take some time to ponder the strange set of events and let the disappearance of Jesus sink in. Yes, it's true that this mysterious young man at the tomb had said to them, "Do not be alarmed. You're looking for Jesus of Nazareth who was crucified. He's been raised. He's not here." And this Easter morning, this is the good news of resurrection life. But the women cannot grasp it, at least not yet. It might as well have been a billion light years away, for now in terror and amazement they face the empty tomb. You know, too often, folks, we try to pretend that there are no massive voids in our lives. We do. We try to keep up appearances, so we don't want anyone to know about those massive voids, those deep, dark places in our lives. We don't want folks to know that there are empty spaces. And we tell our youth and our young adults, believe in yourself and you can do anything, which isn't very good advice, to tell you the truth. The truth is that bad things happen to good people. And not every goal in life is realistic. You may believe that you're going to earn a graduate degree and get a great job along with a perfect family and a beautiful home, but life doesn't always give you what you want. We're all going to face some empty places in life, and we need to take them seriously. You can't expect to step into a dream job right out of college, although some folks do, but not very many of us. Most of us are going to endure a lot of heartbreak before we find a partner for life. Loss and rejection are a part of just about every life story that you can imagine. And you've got to pass through some empty tombs on your way to resurrected life. Mary and her companions quickly discover that Easter's not about them. Instead, it's about God. And in particular, it's about God filling empty places in our lives with new and unexpected life. The Apostle Paul picks up on that thread in his first letter to the Corinthians when he reminds the Christians in Corinth of the good news that he proclaimed to you. And this is what he said: "For I handed on to you as of first importance that Christ died for our sins in accordance with the Scriptures, and that he was buried, and that he was raised on the third day in accordance with the Scriptures, and that he appeared to Cephas, then to the 12, then he appeared to more than 500 brothers and sisters at one time. Last of all, to one untimely born, he appeared to me." Through the resurrection, you see, folks, God fills empty places in our lives. And he does it for the first followers of Jesus, for Paul, for the Christians at Corinth, and he does it for us today as well. The good news is that we don't have to earn or deserve the gift of new life. What we have to do is believe, and be willing to follow Jesus into the future that he's preparing for us. Although the apostle was the least of the apostles, unfit to be called an apostle, he believed in the resurrection. And the result was that God's grace toward him was not in vain. And he was able to spread the gospel throughout the Roman Empire, throughout the known world of his day. Believe in the resurrection. Follow Jesus into the future. These are the responses we can make, responses that can fill our massive voids. Think about that, once again, about that enormous empty space that was recently discovered. A gigantic hole, nearly 1 billion light years across. No planets, no stars, no galaxies, no gases, just a huge empty spot. That spot in the universe, that space, is not nearly as cavernous as a heart without God. The human heart is like an infinite abyss. We human beings try in vain to fill our hearts with everything around us. I see it day in and day out. We try to fill our hearts with education and jobs and homes and money and friends and family. But none of these things can help, since this infinite abyss can only be filled with an infinite and unchanging object. In other words, by God himself. You see, life apart from God is empty. We find our refuge in Jesus Christ alone. I've seen folks, I've tried to do it myself, to fill that empty place in my heart. I tried to do it with money and credit cards and a new pickup truck every 3 years and a new home and new clothes every other month or so and the right kind of clothes. And I tried to do it with all of that stuff. Guess what? My truck gets old. It gets rust spots. I got to fill the gas tank, which is heartbreaking in this day and age. My clothes wear out. And that infinite abyss remains. And only God can fill it. Only God can fill it. There's a time when I tried to fill it at Cabela's. You ever tried to fill that infinite abyss at Cabela's? Huh? Hey, you can go broke at Cabela's before you fill that hole, I'll tell you. None of these things can. And if you're feeling that massive void in your life, the very same will be true for you. Your emptiness will not be eliminated by a new car, a better salary, a new career, a new spouse, a new house. Instead, the hole can only be filled by believing in the resurrection and following Jesus into the future. The good news of Easter is that Christ is risen. He's been raised from the dead, and He's waiting for you beyond the big empty. Beyond the empty tomb. That's the good news of Easter for us this day. And we're going to